Hi all and welcome to another video. This is going to be the first of a four-part series, I suppose, as my first preview of the Cheltenham Festival. Obviously Cheltenham is just under 3 weeks time actually. I think it's 3 weeks today, because I'm here on the Tuesday the 20th, and I can't wait. It's a fantastic week of sport, for cracking days racing, and I'm going to take you through the Tuesday card, and hopefully we can find a few winners. I wouldn't call it ante-post because it's 3 weeks away, but I suppose it's well in advance, and you can still maybe get a few nicer prices than what you could get on the day. So what I'm going to do is talk you through at the moment the five main races of the first day, and probably the same for the other couple of days, and then I might do a handicap video nearer to the time when it's more certain of the weights and which horses are going for what handicaps and all that. Obviously with the novice races it can be a bit like that also, but we're basing it on probabilities at the moment rather than anything else. I've got my phone with me here, which is just giving me really prices more than anything. So yeah, starting off with the Supreme Novices at 1:30 on the Tuesday. Big Cheltenham Roar, can't wait for it. And it does seem to be in the hands of Get a Bird, and it's another Willie Mullins, Rich Richie. They didn't have one last year in the Supreme, but years before that they've had Champagne Fever, Duvan, Vautour, Min got beat by Altior, which is no disgrace, and they have Get a Bird here. And I know he's 7-4. I think you can still get 2-1 in places, non-runner, no bet. I think he'll run in it. It was announced yesterday Sam Crow is going to run in the Ballymore. They're not going to step him up in trip and run him against Sam Crow. And I don't think Sam Crow wanted to drop. They didn't want Sam Crow to drop down in trip, so he'd have to face Get a Bird. I think that's quite tactical that those two are not going to run against each other. I think they both know they're very quality animals. Get a Bird last time out won the Moscow Flyer Novice, another race that is used usually as a prep for these good Mullen novice hurdlers. You see the majority of them going and taking in that Moscow Flyer on the way to the Supreme. And I think a few people were a little bit dubious of him going back down to 2 miles for the Moscow Flyer. But my God, he blew Mengley Khan out of the water. And up until that stage, Mengley Khan was probably the flag bearer for Irish novices. Carter McKay was also 14 lengths back or something in third. He's gone on and come third in a Grade 1 over an extended distance next time out. So the form is not too bad actually. And just the way he quickened away from the last, he stays all day, he'll stay up that hill, and I can see him doing a very similar job to perhaps Vautour. I don't think he's quite got the class. Well, I'm not saying Vautour doesn't have the class, but I don't think he's going to be like Duvan and just come there cantering and win by a couple. I think he'll be a bit more like Vautour. He'll be a bit more prominent and will really just outstay these horses with a bit of turn of foot, and then will stay all the way up the hill. So I think at 7-4, he's actually 7-4, 2-1. I do think he's going to be the winner, and is a very good. I think he's the favourite for a reason, The English Challenge looks okay. They've got the second and third favourite and the fifth one. Kalashnikov for Amy Murphy, 6-1. I'm not sure. Very good in the Betfair hurdle and was a good second in the Tolworth in a Grade 1 beforehand. Problem is, this has a reek of Ballyandy from last year. Won the Betfair hurdle, everyone suddenly thinks he's the best thing since sliced bread. At the end of the day, the Betfair is a handicap. It's very good for a novice to win it, but novices have very good records in it. So it wasn't that surprising, actually. He's ended up beating Bleu et Rouge 3 or 4 lengths. I suspect Willie Mullins well knows that Get a Bird is better than Bleu et Rouge. Well, I would have thought so anyway. So I don't know. I don't really rate that as maybe as highly as some people are taking it. And therefore I'd sway away at 6s. I don't think that's value. If the cap fits at 7s, not a big fan. That form is not bad from his Kempton race, but winners are coming out of it, but at a much lesser level, so you can't really correlate that sort of form, I don't think. Sharjah's interesting here at 12-1. Had an absolute no-show last time behind Sam Crow. Don't know what happened, but that was a steadily run race. Didn't suit at all, I don't think. And I have a feeling an end-to-end gallop, which is so likely in the Supreme, because it's the first race and everyone pisses off at this massive speed. I do think Sharjah has a chance here. If he comes, he'll be more of a hold-up horse. I think he'll come late, potentially off the pace. Probably Paul Townend riding him, because Walsh will be on Get a Bird. And he's got a each-way squeak at 12s. I wouldn't completely rule him out because of that latest run. So he'd be one of my each-way bets. And the other one would be, I don't know whether he's going to run or not. I've got one that's going to run, but I'd prefer the other one. But I don't know whether he's going to run, if you get me. I like Duke de Genevre at 20 to 1. It's another Willie Mullins horse, I know. I do like the Mullins horses, obviously, but when it comes to Cheltenham, you can't go far wrong. I don't know, though. He'll probably run in the Ballymore, so I won't say much more about him. And therefore, I will put up as my other each-way bet, Paloma Blue for Henry de Bromhead. Ran in the exact same race as Sharjah and came third. Duke de Genevre was second in that race. But Paloma Blue actually really travelled very well. He's probably the only horse to look like he was travelling as good as Sam Crow throughout that race. His hurdling form is gradually coming to the boil. He was a bit sloppy early on, but he got a win over Christmas at Leopardstown, won very nicely that day from Impact Factor, who's won since for Jessica Harrington. And he ran really well in the Deloitte for a long way. I think he's a certainty to run in this race. 20 to 1, I think he's a bit overpriced. I don't see there being much difference between him and some of the English horses, if I'm being honest. And therefore, I think Paloma Blue has a good chance. If his jumping holds up, he could go close. Well, he could run into a place maybe at 20 to 1. So we move on to the Arkle then, which is one of the looks like one of the most competitive races of the festival. 4 seemingly very good horses. Footpad at evens, Petit Mouchoir 4 to 1, St Calvados 11 to 2, So Royale 7 to 1, 14's bar, I think. Yeah, 14's bar. I know a lot of people like Petit Mouchoir, and I can see where they're coming from. But I just cannot see past Footpad here. And I know that's 2 favourites from 2. But I don't get these people. They base it on the hurdles form with Petit Mouchoir and Footpad, because Petit Mouchoir beat Footpad 3 times over hurdles. But I think Petit Mouchoir ended up being rated, I think, £3 better than Footpad over hurdles. I think so. I'm not certain about that. But Footpad's improved like a stone over fences. Like, he's one of the best novice chase jumpers I think we've seen in the last decade. Like, he's really, really good. You could even make an argument he's a better jumper than Duvan was as a novice, than Min was as a novice, than Vautour was as a novice. This is the best that Mullins has seen. And I don't like I thought he beat Petit Mouchoir silly. I know Petit Mouchoir ran a good race at the Dublin Racing Festival behind him, but he was beaten well by 5 lengths. I think actually that flattered Petit Mouchoir a bit, and I just don't see him reversing it. He could get closer, and I'm not saying he won't run a big race, Petit Mouchoir. If I'm being honest, I could see a 1-2 Footpad Petit Mouchoir once again, and perhaps that's something you might look into, a bit of a forecast bet there for Footpad to beat Petit Mouchoir. Because I do see them running first and seconds. I think they've both got the edge on the 2 English horses. I don't think St Calvados, he's going to go out in front. I don't think the spring ground will suit him. I think he's more of a heavy ground sort. One to maybe look out for next winter. And So Royale, I'm just not convinced. The only thing I would say about So Royale, he'll benefit from the end-to-end gallop that's guaranteed with St Calvados. And the fact Footpad and Petit Mouchoir are usually prominent runners also. So Royale will sit in behind and perhaps come with a waiting ride. But I don't really see him. I don't see him beating the front 2. In fact, as an each way go, so I'd be advising perhaps a little forecast bet there on Footpad to beat Petit Mouchoir. And if we're going 3rd place each way, Brain Power at 14 to 1. Fell last time out. The worry, I suppose, is he's had 2 incompletions. Not ideal, obviously, and was beaten when falling to So Royale the time before last, and then beaten when falling to Under So. But I do think he's got a lot of ability in him, and hopefully, if his jumping stands the test, he could run a big race. We go then to the Champion Hurdle, and as much as I'd like to fight it, Bouvardere should win this. This should be a fairly easy penalty kick for Bouvardere. 4-9 at this stage would also suggest that a lot of people think that way. And there's not really any proper argument to make against him. Now, backing a horse at that price, unless you're lobbing massive on, is really not for most people. So therefore, we've got to try and find something a little bit different. I think Faugheen, I'd say Matt Chapman's probably the biggest Faugheen fan in the world. I could well be second. I love the horse. I think he's a cracking horse. He isn't as good as he used to be. If he was as good as he used to be, he beats Bouvardere in my eyes. But he's not. I accept that. At 11-2, though, I can see why he's still second favourite. I know some people don't want to go near him. But even his second to Super Sunday, who's most likely going to run certainly in the top 3 in the Stayers, is actually probably the second best form in this race. It's that bad. My tent has got a great chance of placing again at 10s. Melon. I'm not sure about Melon. I think Melon's actually one to sway away from. I'm unconvinced by him. I was very disappointed, because I'm just trying to go through each way shots here, really. I was very unimpressed. I thought Call Me Lord for Nicky Henderson could be a lively kind of each way shout, but he ran a stinker in the Kingwell. Chibello for Dan Skelton, I don't fancy. Mick Jazz, not good enough. Wicklow Brave, now that's something you could be interested in at 20-1 each way. Ran a very good race for a long way in last year's Champion Hurdle. I think ended up coming 7th. But he gave away 20 lengths at the start. He didn't move at the start. Obviously, you'd want him to move. But he then went on to win the Punchestown Champion Hurdle. And that was not a bad race. He beat My Tent and Arctic Fire and Lebeck. So it was another good race. He ran down in the Melbourne Cup, ran a good race without a great race, and has been put away since and will run in the race. So as a guaranteed runner, I think Wicklow Brave, as long as he stays sound, touch wood, will run. And at 20-1, you might want a bit of that. So I think probably I would not. I don't think I'd almost be backing a winning bet. Personally, I might put something on Faugheen for old time's sake more than anything else, but not with any conviction. I think Bouvardere will win. And if you're looking for a few at prices, maybe to come third behind Bouvardere and Faugheen, my 10 are yours at 10s and Wicklow Brave at 20s. So we'll quickly move on then to the Mares Hurdle, which seems a similar story, unfortunately. Apples Jade at 8-13. Very good horse, very good mare. A lot of talk. Should she be running in one of the bigger races, the Stayers Hurdle or something? She probably should, but they won't because they know they can win this. Let's Dance at 6-1. Wouldn't think she's good enough to beat Apples Jade, if I'm being honest. Vroom Vroom Mag at 10s. Is she ever going to race again? I'm not so sure. Benny Didou at 10s. Could be interesting. The only thing is I don't think they're going to bring Benny Didou back over hurdles. If they did, I think Benny Didou's got a good chance of maybe giving Apples Jade a race, but I don't see it. I'm not seeing it. Labago Raw, not happening. Cave Grace, comes with its issues. Verdana Blue is potentially one at a price at 16s. Ran a poor race in the Betfair Hurdle, but the ground wasn't with her that day. And up until that had been running nice races. Came, I think, third in the Mares Novice to Let's Dance last year. So would need to improve. But I suppose could do so. But my big each way shout in this is Jers Girl at 25-1. I saw a couple of days ago, because Gavin Cromwell has ruled out Espoir d'Allen out of the festival, which is a big shake-up for the Triumph market. But he said in that article that Jersey Girl is likely to run. I wouldn't say Jersey Girl's going to win because I don't think she's good enough, and she's been beaten by Apple's Jade enough times for that to really be the case. But at 25 to 1, you're looking at the other horses and kind of going, Jersey Girl could beat some of these, really. Jersey Girl could beat Cave Grace, could beat Verdana Bleu, and they're 16s. She's 25s. I don't really see where that is. Perhaps it's the fact Gavin Cromwell's the trainer. I'm not so sure. Fell in the race last year at 3 out, when seemingly travelling still very well. Probably wouldn't have placed because it was a very good mares last year with Apple's Jade, Vroom Vroom Mag and Limini. But could have come fourth or something like that. And if she came fourth last year, she'd be 8 to 1 here, not 25s. I'd be a little concerned that because she hasn't won for a while over hurdles, she won on the flat at the start of this year, but she's an unlikely win proposition. But to come second or third, Jersey Girl certainly has the ability at 25 to 1. That's a nice each way shout. And the last one I'm going to cover for day one now is the 4 Mile National Hunt Chase. Now, this is a very difficult race to work out because you don't know who's going to run it. Like, the favourite is 6 to 1 presenting Percy. He's going to run in the RSA. Dunacos could run in it. Invitation Only is not going to run in it, I don't think. Jury Duty, not sure, don't think so. Shattered Love, perhaps. Maldini. Now, Maldini's probably more likely of the Pat Kelly duo to run in the this race, the 4 Mile race. I think he's got a good chance. I would actually prefer, if I'm being honest, to see Maldini run again, get another shot in the Kim Muir. An exaggerated waiting ride last year, came 5th, staying on all the time. The only thing is, I can see why they're going 4 miles, because this horse has always looked as if it needs 8 miles. You know, it's never kind of quick enough over fences. So Maldini, I think they're plotting people, those Patrick Kelly, those Alan Reynolds horses. You know, you just need to watch out for them. They're very shrewd. Presenting Percy's been handled superbly. Maldini probably hasn't delivered as much as they hoped over fences, but is still quite good and still could run a big race. And at 9 to 1, that considering he's likely to run, I think that's a decent value. And the other one I'd go for here, maybe each way. Well, this is all, like I'm saying each way. You could obviously put on a win bet, but I think Fagan is going to run in this race for Gordon Elliott. Gordon Elliott won it last year with Tiger Roll at 16s. Fagan is another one of these horses. Hasn't quite delivered perhaps what they'd hoped over fences so far, but does look like no trip is long enough. Has been outpaced the last couple of times over 3 miles. Hasn't been seen since October, when losing out by 10 lengths to Black Corton. Now, at the time, you probably went, 10 lengths to Black Corton. But now you're looking at it and going, Black Corton is, I think, 3rd favourite in the RSA, or 4th favourite. And has won 8 races this season. So that form looks better now than it probably did at the time. And he was outpaced, really. And that was a 3 mile race. So I think 4 miles will suit. He was 2nd in the Albert Bartlett, renowned for horses extremely slow, but good gallopers. And I think at 14 to 1, as long as he turns up, he's obviously a bit of a fragile horse, needs spring ground. But if he turns up, Fagan at 14 to 1 could be a good way to get a winner of the 4 miler, Maldini and Fagan. So that's all ready for day one. That's the 5 races. There's obviously 2 other races, the Ultimate Handicap Chase and the Close Brothers Novice Handicap Chase, but I'll cover them more when weights come out. Probably I'll do a combined handicap video of the 7 or 8 handicaps or whatever there are. Next video, obviously day 2, day 3, day 4. I'll just do it in chronological order. Probably at the moment, because I know I do naps. I'd say at a good, well, not a good price, but at a price that is easily backable. My nap will be Get a Bird at 2 to 1 in the Supreme. I think he'll come back, or It will allow the Mullins, Walls, Ritchie train to get back underway in the Supreme Novice. I think he's by far the best horse in the race. I also think Footpad will win, but at evens, probably not the best price. So Get a Bird would be my nap the day for the first day at this moment. 2 to 1. And also, I'll just quickly run through them. So Get a Bird to win the Supreme. Footpad, Boo were there probably to win the champion, but My Tent and Wicklow Brave each way. Apple's Jade's probably going to win the mares. Jur's Girl each way. And Maldini and Fagan in the National Hunt. So, there you go. Yeah, that's all. That's all for this video. So, I'll see you next time. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, like and maybe subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Happy punting.